All right, so we just finished our compare and contrast graphic organizer with Miss Nelson is Missing, and Miss Nelson has a field day. So what is our next step? Well, our next step is we're gonna use all that information to write our performance task summary. So what do I want you to have in your summary for comparing and contrasting two stories? Well, I'm going to tell you, we're going to do one together, and then later on in the week, you can use your notes to help you with your performance task by yourself, okay? So you always need to introduce, and I'm gonna shrink down a little bit, introduce the books. So you are going to have something called an intro sentence. And you need to make sure that you include the book titles. Okay, and again, we're gonna do one together so you will understand what I mean after we take our notes. So then what's next? Well, you need to have at least 2 examples of how the books are the same. Do you remember what that is? Comparing, right? So we're going to have at least 2 examples of how the books are the same. Okay, at least 2. You can always have more, all right? Now on this one, it's not as important to tell the titles of the stories because if they both have it, then I don't need to know. I'm not gonna get confused, all right? But the next one are differences, and what's that called? Compare means the same, difference means contrast. When we contrast the books, you need to include the titles. So you're going to make sure you have 1 difference for each book. And you better include what? The title. Include the title. Okay? And then you're going to just have a nice little conclusion sentence. You know me, I love writers that tie it up with a pretty bow. They end it nicely and not with the end. My least favorite. So then you're going to have a conclusion, and that's just going to be your thought or your feeling about the books. That could be you liked one better than the other. It could be, you know, they both made me laugh. Anything that you feel or think about the book, all right? So if you need to pause this to finish up your notes, go ahead and do that now, okay? And when you're ready, you're going to push play so that we can write our example summary. Now remember, we used our graphic organizer to help organize our thoughts, of course, but we also highlighted all of the what? Do you remember? The similarities. So that's gonna be easy for you later on in the week also. You're gonna be expected to do this on your own. But if you highlight it, it jumps out at you. You already have your comparing, your similarities, okay? And then all the other ones that aren't highlighted are obviously what? What you're contrasting, what is different, all right? So I am turning to the next page, and I'm going to remember that Mrs. Harp wants me to have a nice intro sentence, and that means including both of the books I'm talking about. So I am always going to indent and skip lines, And we'll just say, what's one of our comparing words? Just maybe both. Can you see it? Whoop. Both. Is that a good comparing word? All right, so here we go. In both, and then I'm including my titles. Miss Nelson is missing. And remember, whenever you do a title, you put the quotation marks or you can underline it. And Miss Nelson has a field day. There are a lot of things that are the same and things that are different, right? Similarities and differences, do you like that? Are a lot of similarities and differences. Okay, so that right here is a perfect example of what we call our intro. Okay, we made sure we included the titles of the book, and we made sure to just put one little fact out there. You could say anything really you want for this one. All right, so now we're gonna skip a line, indent, and what did I want you to do next? At least 2 examples of how the books are the same, okay? Well, that's what's highlighted. So what was the same? And don't just say, oh, the characters in the setting. Be specific. Oh, how about they both had Miss Nelson, who was sweet in both of them, right? And then who else? Viola Swamp. And how could we describe her? In both stories, she's what? Strict, scary, horrifying. Any of those would be amazing. Could that be our first similarity? Okay, so again, make sure you're looking at your compare and contrast words. Let's see. They are, maybe we could say they are alike, or both books are alike because both stories, I like that. Both stories are alike because they both have sweet Miss Nelson and strict Viola Swamp as characters. Okay? What else could I say? Oh, another thing they have in what? Common. Well, let's see. Well, Viola Swamp comes in the middle of both of the stories, or we could talk about the setting. Those are other similarities. Let's go with the setting. So another thing they have in common is both stories take place at school. There you go. That is your similarity paragraph. So that is with our 2 similarities, right? Can you see that? Whoop. So I'm taking notes on the side for you so that you know what it should look like. When you write yours, you don't need to have this thing that says intro. I know the first one is an intro. You don't need to have this one that says 2 similarities on the side. I know because you're gonna have some of your similarity words, right? Both, alike, in common. Those are all similarity words. If you wanna underline and highlight those similarity words, great. All right, so then what's next? What do I want you to do next? I want you to come up with one difference. But what is so important, you need to make sure you include the title of each book. So let's stop and think for a minute. What's different? Oh, well, in Miss Nelson is missing, there's a moral, right? And Miss Nelson has a field day, there's not really a moral, but did we learn something that we didn't know in the first book? So could we talk about that? Could we talk about how Miss Nelson's missing has a moral and explain what it is? And then in Miss Nelson's field day, it doesn't have a moral, but we learned something important, that Miss Nelson has a twin sister. Yes, I like it. All right, so we are starting our new paragraph. We're indenting, and we're going to make sure we include the titles and some of our contrast words, all right? So some of our contrast words, remember, are down at the bottom. So let's see. However, I like that one. And make sure I'm including which one I'm talking about. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. However, in Miss Nelson is missing, there is a moral. Make sure you give me more detail. And it is treat people the way you want to be treated. Okay, so that is about one of my stories. Now I need to go into what's different. Oh, I like that fancy one. Do you remember that fancy one I talked about? I like this one. Contrary to. Here we go, making you dizzy. So we'll say contrary to. And then include the title. Miss Nelson. You see it? I'll shrink a little bit. Watch me shrink. Miss Nelson has a field day. How about maybe where we don't learn a lesson, but we do learn Miss Nelson has a twin sister. My favorite part. Okay, can you see that okay? All right, and then, so that was our, I'm gonna unzoom a little bit so you can see, that was our difference paragraph. That was kind of a long one, right? Difference with titles of the books. Better be in there. And then, do you remember what our last one is? Oh, we want to tie it up with a pretty bow and have it end very nicely with a thought or a feeling. So I'm going to say, Both of these books made me laugh out loud and were full of surprises. And that is our conclusion. So this, guys, is a perfect example of an amazing 100% performance task compare contrast summary. Okay? We used all of our information to make a great summary on the story. We included titles. We included details. We were very specific, all right? So now that you have a perfect example on Thursday and Friday, you will be able to use this to help you with our next two stories that have a lot of similarities, but many more differences. And I can't wait for you to hear them. All right, so I am signing off. You are done. Good job. I'll talk to you later. Bye.